Welcome to CRJ 112, Introduction to Criminology. This week we're looking at Chapter 5, which talks about trait theory. And this chapter really reviews theories that suggest that criminality is really an outgrowth of abnormal human traits. The different trait theories can be subdivided into two major categories: those that stress biological makeup and those that stress psychological functioning. Now, although they overlap, each branch has its unique characteristics and will be discussed differently in the chapter. Now, the view that criminals have physical or mental traits that make them different and abnormal really began with Cesare Lombroso. But that really fell out of favor and then was replaced by sociobiology, which believes that social behavior is often genetically transmitted and then subjected to the evolutionary process. In other words, it changes to meet the existing environmental conditions. Now, possessing certain personal traits may help explain why certain people, when faced with certain situations in life, might commit crime while others obey the law. For example, living in a disadvantaged neighborhood does not necessarily cause a well-adjusted person to commit crime, and living in an affluent area will not necessarily stop a maladjusted person from committing crime. Now, contemporary trait theorists don't suggest that a single biological or psychological attribute really can explain all of criminality. Each offender has to be considered physically and mentally unique, so there has to be different explanations for different people's behavior. Now, trait theorists today recognize that having a particular physical characteristic does not, in and of itself, produce criminality. Crime-producing interactions really involve both personal traits, like being impulsive, and environmental factors, such as one's family life. Now, the text does provide a brief overview of the different sub-areas within biological criminology on page 110 of your textbook in Figure 5.1. Now, the text also provides an overview on the following. It talks about biochemical factors that are believed to affect how proper behavior patterns are learned. Also looks at the relationship between brain function and crime. Talks about current ideas about association between genetic factors and crime, and also looks at the evaluation of the evolutionary views of crime causation. Now, biological theory tends to divide people into criminals and non-criminals based on their genetic and physical makeup. It really ignores self-reports that indicate that almost everyone has engaged in some type of illegal activity. Contemporary biocriminologists really believe that some people carry the potential or have the potential to be violent or antisocial, and that certain environmental conditions might trigger those types of responses. Think about recent events, a school shooting or workplace violence. Some of those kind of bring that to mind. Now, they also believe that it's possible that although the biochemical makeup does influence behavior, there are certain social factors, such as having nurturing parents, that can mitigate or lessen the effects. Now, the psychological trait view really focuses on the associations between intelligence, personality, learning, and criminal behavior. The psychodynamic perspective, which was really originated by Sigmund Freud, is very prominent today. Freud believed that we all carry with us kind of this residue of the most significant emotional attachments from our childhood that in turn guides our future interpersonal relationships. And really, he divided the human personality into three structures: the id, the ego, and the superego. And so the psychodynamic view of criminality really looks at the person as someone who had unhappy or unpleasant experiences in childhood, or they had families that really didn't provide proper love and care, so they may suffer from weak or damaged egos. Now, weak egos are associated with immaturity, poor social skills, and an over-reliance or dependence on other people. Now, people with weak egos may be easily led into crime by antisocial peers, drug abuse, and other factors. Some even have underdeveloped superegos and may commit crimes because they have difficulty really understanding the consequences of their actions. Now, moving on to attachment theory, it believes that one's ability to form an emotional bond to someone else really has very important psychological implications that really follow someone throughout their lifetime. So failure to develop proper attachment may cause some people to fall prey or victim to a number of different disorders. Those people may be impulsive, they may have difficulty concentrating, and because of that they have difficulty in school and difficulty in adulthood creating, sustaining relationships. So criminologists really have linked people who have detachment problems with a variety of antisocial behaviors, including sexual assault and child abuse. Now, behavior theory maintains that our actions are developed through what we learn. In other words, other people's behavior. The major premise is that really people change their behavior according to how people respond to that behavior. So behavior is supported by rewards and hopefully extinguished by punishment. Now, the branch of behavior theory that's most relevant to criminology is probably social learning. Social learning theorists argue that people are not born with the ability to act violently. Rather, they learn to be aggressive through different life experiences, like personally observing it or seeing people being rewarded for that type of behavior. So children who witness violent behavior may learn to respond or act aggressively. Cognitive theory has really received increased recognition in recent years, and it really focuses on the different mental processes, how people perceive and mentally represent the world around them, and then solve problems in relation to that. So cognitive theorists really study information, the information processing as a way to try to explain antisocial behavior in terms of this mental perception and how they use that information to understand their environment. People who use the information properly, who are better conditioned to make reasoned judgments, and who can make quick and rational reasoned decisions when facing an emotional situation, are best able to avoid antisocial behavior choices. Now, crime-prone people may have certain cognitive defects, and they use the information incorrectly when they make decisions, which may lead to their antisocial or criminal behavior. And the text also at the end discusses the impact that personality, intelligence, and mental disorders have on crime. Now next week we'll get into, or next time we'll get into Chapter 6, which will look at social structure theory, which believes that social forces, not individual traits, are what causes crime.